This is the Goffstown School District meeting. I'm Jim Raymond, the moderator. Nice to see you all here. We have an exciting agenda for you. You should have in your hands two things, the handouts and a voter card. If you don't have a voter card, please get one while we're doing the introductions, because you'll need that to vote later. We have with us, again this year, thanks to the Goffstown Music Department, the motley crew from the Wizard of Oz, which the music department will be putting on from February 15th through 23rd. But they're going to help us with our singing the national anthem. Now, if you recall last year, we had a slight screw-up on the order of the pledge and the national anthem. Josh and I have been working on this practically weekly all year to do it right. So at first, if you will rise, if you may, again, join me in the Pledge of Allegiance, then the cast will lead us in the singing of the national anthem. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Oh, say, can you see why the dawn's early light, what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleam, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight, o'er the ramparts we watched, were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the boats bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Thank you. The music department is one of the jewels in the crown of Goffstown school system, so I hope you can go see more of their talent. So thank you for Josh and Doug for sharing them with us. The Goffstown, like all towns, depends on a lot of volunteer time to make it work. I think we're seeing the results in the agreement that the school board and the budget committee have reached this year. That was a consequence of time and effort by both of them. I'd like to introduce the boards and the school district personnel so we can recognize their time. Not all people are here, but I'm going to ask that the school board members, you're up front so we can see you, just raise your hands. I'm going to call your name. Budget committee, since we can't see you as readily, will stand, and then the school administrators as well. For the school board, Phil Pancoast, chair, Diane McCarthy, vice chair, Keith Allard, Hank Boyle. Dan Cloutier is busy with the state budget today, so send him your regards. He's not here. Laurie Cloutier is not here. Ginny McKinnon, Jennifer. Let me come out of character. There's a statute. It's the statute that creates the power of the moderator. I think it's 17569. Has a little-known subchapter that exempts the moderator from dirty looks if he mispronounces names. I'm a lawyer, I know those things. I'm going to take full advantage of it, so if I mispronounce your name, I apologize. Suzanne Tremblay. Jennifer, did we say your name or did we pass? Oh, Jennifer. Thorough? Thorough. Okay. Then the teacher reps, two are a class, I forget which one, Sam Hearn, Jessica Barron, and Lisa Nicholson. And the student rep, Megan Dodge. I've always wondered how the students have time to do both, so I appreciate their time. On the budget committee, Peter Gigantis, the chair, Elizabeth DeBrule, okay. I invoked that section. Lisa Jukes, Joe Spurl, Lee Sturry, Ivan Beliveau, John Burt, Guy Karen, Brian Fournier, Brian Lewis, and Ruth Gage. And then for the appointed members, Scott Gross is here for the Board of Selectmen, Richard Dick Fletcher, he's here, and Sue Tremblay is the school board rep. Oh, you are? Oh, Diane, I'm sorry. Diane is the school board rep. For the school administrators, these are the people we trust to our children to. Stacy Buckley, school superintendent. Brian Balkes, assistant superintendent. Mary Claire Berry, assistant superintendent. Raymond Labor, business administrator. Frank McBride is not here. He's at a workshop or class. He's principal from Goffstown High School. Jim Hunt, the Mountain View principal. David Busquet, Bartlett, I should know that by now, elementary school principal. Suzanne Prisco, Legal Ave, and Leslie Doster is Glen Lake. We're also delighted to have with us Lou D'Alessandro, our state senator. I'm sure in about a minute he can describe to you, if you catch him at halftime, how he's going to solve the state budget crisis. Take full advantage of that. Also, my team up working with me, Fred Platt, the assistant moderator. If anything goes wrong, blame Fred. And Joanne Duffy, the school district clerk. Both of whom have seen before. The school district meeting, as the old town meeting, with the vestiges from the past, we vote on things, but it's also a chance to recognize other people who have made a contribution to the school in the past year as a community event. So I'd like to recognize school board members who will be presenting awards. First is Ginny McKinnon, presenting the Dreamkeeper Award.
The Dreamkeeper Award recognizes exceptional service to our school district. It is designed to recognize people or organizations that have truly gone the extra mile to make the Goffstown dream of providing a superior education a reality. This year, this award goes to the Mountain View PBIS team. PBIS is Positive Behavioral Interventions and Support Team, which is a new approach that we have brought into Mountain View this year. And the people who served on this team, Brian Balke, if anyone is here, would they please come down front? Brian Balke, Jessica Byron, Karen Bodwin Gurley, Leslie, I'm evoking the same thing, Ridley Agano, Jenna Burns, Jessica Burton, Colleen Cassidy, Catherine Collins, TJ Collins, Barbara French, Mary Grassett, and Ken Martin. Thank you. You're going to stay right here for that. Yes. I just want people to recognize really what you've given us this year and all of the work that you've done. And if you're really uncomfortable, you can sit back down, but be recognized, please. In April of 2012, a request was made to the MVMS faculty for interested staff to participate on the PBIS leadership team. Since that time, this dedicated team of professionals has met to bring the PBIS model to MVMS. The team received 4 full days of training with Dr. Howard Muscott in the PBIS model and continued to meet after school and over the summer to continue this project. Work created a common vision of expected student behavior and indeed has improved the student behavior at Mountain View. The members of the PBIS leadership have presented at whole faculty meetings and provided in-service training for the entire faculty. This courage and conviction of this group of professionals is commendable. Through their dedication to Mountain View, PBIS has flourished and is helping promote a positive culture and climate there. And you may say that, maybe this was part of their job, but this group has come forth with such enthusiasm and has really engaged the entire population, has spent a lot of their own time mentoring staff members, from the janitors to the principals in this. And there's been a real improvement. There's excitement at Mountain View, both in the students and the faculty. There's a saying there about pause pride, and the students have really picked up on it and are feeling really good about their community. And I think this is part from the positive, enthusiastic way that this was approached to the entire school. They started in April, and I would say by October we had really good reports about how engaged everybody was in this process. There's common language that everybody uses. There's common expectations. Everybody knows what they are, and I thank you for that. We have a certificate that will go into the school, and we have our Dream Keeper Award that your committee will be listed on our side. So thank you very much for all that you've given us.
Thank you, Judy. Now, Keith Allett will present the Cornerstone Award.
Good morning. Thank you for coming out this morning. The purpose of the Cornerstone Award is to recognize outstanding support of student learning. The Cornerstone Award program is a recognition program whereby the Goffstown School District has the opportunity to recognize outstanding achievements by staff members as well as community members working within our schools. The Goffstown School District is pleased to present the 2013 Cornerstone Award to Gail Kinney. Gail works at the Glen Lake School, and I'd like to share a few reasons why she was both nominated and picked for the Cornerstone Award this year. When you walk in the school, she is the voice and face of Glen Lake when you make your visits there. And they feel very privileged to have her as part of their staff. In a small building, everyone must wear many different hats from time to time. Gail can be found getting a Band-Aid for a child when the health office is vacant, mopping up a mess when the custodian is not on duty, and passing on Leslie Doster's instructions when our principal is out of the building. She does all of this cheerfully. Gail keeps the candy dish filled as well. She sits with children whose parents are late for picking them up, guilty as charged. She helps staff and volunteers with office machines and other issues too varied to list, and does countless good deeds through all the day, well beyond the duties of her position. She's attuned to those around her. Gail doesn't do these things because she has to. She does them because she wants to. Gail, quite simply, takes very good care of everyone at Glen Lake, the students, staff, and families alike. She does all this while gracefully handling all the regular responsibilities of her position. She is professional in all her interactions with staff and public. No matter how many stresses have piled up on her during the day, Gail goes about her job with grace, dedication, and a smile. Gail's work ethic is second to none, and she takes great pride in doing her job well. Her intelligence and dedication make us all look good. She is a big reason that working at Glen Lake is such a pleasant place. She keeps things running smoothly, and with her random acts of kindness, touches everyone affiliated with Glen Lake. For all of these reasons, we are pleased to present Gail Kinney the Cornerstone Award. She is truly a cornerstone of Glen Lake School and the Goffstown School District. Gail will actually get to take home and frame and put right above her office desk at either at work or home. And as well as the Cornerstone Award, the plaque will have her name on it for 2013. And this will actually get placed at the school that received it for the year. So if you want to bring it back and show anybody, you're welcome to, but you must give it back to me. All right? Congratulations. Thank you.
Phil promised he'd do better pronunciation of names than I did. He's going to recognize one of the school members, board members. Phil.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. There are all kinds of reasons why people end up serving their community. They see opportunities, they find times in their schedules, and they make a commitment to showing up every night, in our case, at least every Monday night, all year long, except for an occasional break in July. Showing up for meetings on the occasional Friday night when there's business that just didn't get done and needs to be done. Showing up for events like this and taking time away from their families, friends, and other obligations in order to provide a service to their community. We should all be very grateful to everybody in the room who has done that, and everybody in the room who has benefited from the work that's been done. I think, and I'm going to allow Jennifer Thoreau to correct me if I'm wrong, and she's really good at doing that. I think that Jennifer's involvement with parent groups pointed her in the direction of the school board. She ran successfully. She came and sat at the table and patiently listened and participated, and patiently listened and participated, and then told me it was time for me to be quiet because other people had something to say, which is the thing that I'm most thankful to her for. She has been an integral part of serving the community. She served on subcommittees involving human resources, which primarily deals with the policy function. And for anybody who doesn't know it, the policy function is the primary function of the school board. So she was at the heart of what we do. She was diligent. She asked questions. She got information. She went through a review process. She was part of dealing with policies that were new as well as things that didn't serve us well anymore. She served on curriculum and education. She served on planning and communication. All things that required an enormous amount of time. And today, we have the benefit of the effort that she put in serving on the elementary facilities review project and the building committee. We are grateful for the tireless and constant commitment that she's made to the students, to the board, and the service that she's provided for the community. How could I forget that? I'm not sure how. I think everybody left the room, including Jennifer, and there might have been 2 people left when somebody said, we really need somebody to step in and serve as the board's representative to the budget committee. And I say that not because it's difficult or not because it's not something that people want to do, but as any member of the budget committee would tell you, it's an enormous time commitment. You have to be there and you have to be on and you have to be really knowledgeable. And so every once in a while, I think Jen's response was, you know something, I don't know, but I'll get back to you, which is a lot better than trying to take a flyer at it and guess. And Jen, thank you for jumping into the breach and doing that. And by the way, doing it really, really, really well. It takes skill to be able to say, I don't know. And when it was necessary, she did that. But most of the time, interestingly, she found that she did know and answered thoughtfully and provided good information in that forum. I want to take 2 more seconds to thank Jennifer personally, mostly for saying, shh. And if nobody else understood it, she does, but thank you very much. The board thanks you, and I'm going to assume that the community all joins me in thanking you for your service and for taking time away from family, friends. And there's a recognition of that service.
Thank you, Phil. Thank you, Jennifer. You've heard, those of you who come frequently have heard the lecture on the procedure. I'm going to give it an abridged version for any new members of the community, just so you know what we're doing here today and how we're going to do it. Goffstown adopted the official ballot act, so-called, that changed the old town meeting, school meeting system, where previously we'd vote on all warrant articles at this meeting. What we're doing today is 2 of the formerly 3 functions of the school meeting: to deliberate, to amend, to discuss and debate, to amend if they choose. Third was we vote. You now vote by written ballot at the traditional town meeting voting day, the 2nd Tuesday in March, just as you do with all elections, either here or at the Bartlett School. So what we're doing today is we're discussing articles. You may amend it. I'm not inviting you to, but you may. And then moving on. Now what that means is if we take no action as a group, the warrant articles as presented appear on the ballot. In other words, this group doesn't have to do anything. It's only if we amend that the amended form appears. But it's a chance to present, to discuss. So we'll use that opportunity. What we'll do as a procedure is we'll have to bring something forward. You do it by motion to bring forward on the floor. Presumably the school board will make that motion second. Bring it forward for discussion. People may discuss, and then we'll see if there wants to be any amendments. If not, we'll end the discussion and move on to the next article. We don't have to take any action. A few rules. One, if you're going to want to speak, you have to wait to be recognized by the moderator, and you have to speak into one of the 2 microphones. Even if you have cast iron lungs and you think we can hear you, your words of wisdom are being broadcast on global access television, and they won't hear you, and that's important, and it won't be preserved for the minutes. Second, you have to introduce yourself, There was an article you saw in the science section of the New York Times last week where there's been a lot of study that supports the old joke about our brains get full and we can't remember anything new. And without any suggestion about Fred and my age, our brains are full. And we don't remember your names. Even if I've known you for 30 years, assume I don't remember your name, even if you told me it 6 minutes ago. So we'll set sort of a 4-minute cutoff. If you speak again, tell us your name. School board will give you a little slack because you have name tags. But the rest of us, if you're going to speak, please state your name. Our own local rules, it's Flood and Raymond's rules of fairness and good order. Rule number 1, we do not allow any personal attacks, personal comments. Our assumption is everybody is working for the good of Goffstown. We may have different views on how to get there, but I'm not going to permit any suggestion otherwise. And this town has been pretty good at that. My town council role, we go to other town meetings, and I see ugliness, and we've avoided it pretty much in Goffstown. I commend you. Let's keep up that tone. If you have questions, I will permit you to ask your questions, but we will not get in a discussion. I'll have you ask all your questions. This isn't cross-examination. You may pose a question, and the people that have the answers may choose to answer. I'm going to give them time. But all your comments are directed to the moderator, not to, for example, the school board. Ask me a question that the school board wishes to respond when they have their chance they can. So you can ask your questions and we'll move on. And we did that last year and I think it worked pretty well. If you want to make an amendment, you may do it orally, but then Fred is walking to the back of the room, but he has the forms up here. We ask you to fill them in. It has to be made by motion and seconded to the names, and then we'll act on the amendment. There are other statutory requirements for secret ballot. Requires 5 votes, recounts, 5 voters to sign, 7 voters on a recount. We've done all those. I think people know the procedure. The other motion that you may make from the floor is a motion to restrict reconsideration. This is under the statute, RSA 4010, where you may move that we not reconsider any action previously taken in the meeting. It has to come after the fact. You may make that by orally with a second. We will vote on it. That way, late in the meeting, after everybody else has gone home, we can't go back and reconsider something. We've done that in the past. What we'll do is, as we bring forward each article, I will read it quickly. Then school board will make a motion to bring it forward, second it. I'll let them make a presentation. Budget committee, Peter, will have a chance if they think they have anything to add, but Peter tells me he'll be brief, Peter. And then others may have questions, and then we'll either move on. Now, other events going on. There's a wrestling match in the gym. I'm a fan of wrestling, so I hope we can get through this quickly so I can catch the end of it. And other people have other things to do. So if we can get through this quickly, I won't be disappointed, but I want to give everybody a chance to talk and ask questions. Are there any questions on the procedure? I don't want anybody to be uncertain about what we're doing. Okay, seeing none, let's parade into the warrant article. I'm not going to read that warning. I don't have to, so I'm not, unless somebody wants me to, about it being posted. This first article is for election of officers that cannot be amended at the meeting. I'm going to pass over that and go right to Article 2. To see if the Goffstown School District will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $14,532,000 gross budget for the purpose of construction, renovation, and equipment of the Maple Avenue Elementary School and the Bartlett Elementary School, and for costs incidental and related to the foregoing purposes, and to authorize the issuance of not more than $14,186,780 of bonds or notes in accordance with the provisions of the Municipal Finance Act, RSA 33, and to authorize the school district officials to issue and negotiate such bonds or notes and to determine the rate of interest thereon. Furthermore, to authorize the withdrawal of $345,220 from the Bartlett Capital Reserve Fund created for this purpose. Furthermore, to raise and appropriate the sum of $271,566.75. How did they come up with? No. For payment of the first year's debt service on the aforesaid bonds, Such sum to be raised by taxation. This appropriation is in addition to warrant article number 3, the operating budget. This is a bond article, so when it comes to a vote, it requires a 3/5 vote at the ballot. Does the school board have a motion? Jennifer?
I make that motion to move it forward.
Okay. Sally, do you have to have a second? Seconded by Keith. Who's going to speak to this? Jennifer?
Good morning. My presentation actually will be reasonably brief because this is the second year that this proposal is on the warrant. We've had some changes over the year. We bring this warrant, this bond issue forward with a couple of changes. We've dropped the price, or the price has changed by almost $800,000 since last year. If not now, when are we going to do this? The price dropped because the construction company, Harvey, which, by the way, paid for the flyer that you see, they dropped their price by about $400,000. Also, the interest rates have dropped a full percentage rate, which is a savings or a cost avoidance of about $500,000. I want to point out that this article is approved. This bond is Article 2 has been endorsed by the Budget Committee. It's obviously endorsed by the school board. The selectmen this year, though they didn't necessarily have a stamp that says they endorsed it, what they have done is chosen not to put a bond article on the town side. They want a new fire station. But they also wanted to give the renovations committee the best opportunity to make sure that this has a possibility to pass. If not now, when? Interest rates are low. Construction costs have dropped. The details are here in the flyer, as well as on the school board website, goffstown.k12.nh.us. I would highly recommend going there, checking it out. Also, in the vestibule out front are the plans that show what our improvements will be. New instructional spaces so that we can move children from spaces that are formerly bathrooms and closets in some instances, and we can replace them with art rooms and music rooms and computer labs and special services rooms, and get those kids out of the bathrooms and the closets. We can even reclaim those bathrooms, which the children after lunch sincerely would appreciate. New security. We don't need to dwell on that, but it really would be awesome to get our students from external portable units back into the building for many reasons. They wouldn't have to cross to go to the bathroom or to go to lunch. Upgrades within the buildings, because of several years of budgets narrowing and decreasing, maintenance costs have been weighed against cost for educational supplies. We've had to balance the two. We're a school board. We're choosing education over maintenance that is something that needs to happen but can wait. We've now got this crescendo of needs, of maintenance that is really, really needing to take place. Those costs will be rolled into the article, into the cost of the program. I would just very much ask you to support Article 2, because if not now, when? Thank you.
Are there any questions, or would anybody else like to be heard on this article? Okay, see, Peter, you're good? Okay, seeing none, then we'll move to the next article, Article 3. Before I do that, one of the risks of introducing some people is you leave out others. But since their name did come up as a group in Jennifer's presentation, I do want to acknowledge, although it's the town side, that the Board of Selectmen have some representatives here. I just want to list their names, and if you hear it, you could stand briefly. David Pierce, Chair. Scott Gross, I saw him, David. Scott Gross, who is here in the back. Stan, put your hand up. Stan, dear Scott, come on. Phil Devanza, it's nice when you can tell Scott something. He really doesn't give you a chance. Phil Devanza, Collis Adams, and Mark LeMay. Yeah, Mark. Thank you for coming. Also, he cast a long shadow, but Larry Emerton, who was the school moderator for just about 1,000 years, is here and will glare at me when I do things differently, but I do them anyway, so thank you, Larry. Okay, we will now then move to Article number 3, which I will read. Shall the Goffstown School District raise and appropriate as an operating budget, not including appropriations by special warrant articles and other appropriations voted separately, the amount set forth on the budget posted with the warrant or as amended by vote of the first session for the purposes set forth therein, totaling $37,311,381. Should this article be defeated, the default budget shall be $36,616,091, which is the same as last year, with certain adjustments required by previous action of the Goffstown School District or by law, or the governing body may hold one special meeting in accordance with RSA 4013, 10, and 16 to take up the issue of a revised operating budget. This warrant article does not include appropriations in any other warrant articles. That's why it's a majority vote. Now, people are going to say, how could you come up with such awkward wording on an article? This is a form required by law. Don't blame them. Don't blame me. We have to do it. Making a motion to bring it forward by Diane. Kathy, second by Phil Pancoast. Diane, are you speaking to this chair? I will recognize Diane McCarthy.
To the adoption of our operating budget for the 2013-2014 school year. And of course, it's asking to raise and appropriate an operating budget of $37,311,381. This year, we are very pleased to say that not only is this warrant article, this proposed budget, recommended by the school board, it is likewise recommended by the budget committee. As we get into this, I wanted to share a little bit with you about how the budget is created. It's a fairly lengthy process, really, and it starts 12 to 18 months before any of these expenditures are expected to be appropriated. Starts at the building level with the principals as they work through their building to try to identify different needs as they exist in their buildings. We do ask that they start with a zero base, and what that means is instead of looking exclusively at what their historical spending is, we do ask that they look at each line individually to determine if, in fact, that need does exist in the coming year. The superintendent and the staff at the SAU likewise reviews the budgets. They make assorted reductions and adjustments, suggestions, goes back to the building, they work through, and ultimately this is what gets presented to the school board. The school board then spends several meetings reviewing these budgets and discussing, asking questions, and we make our own reductions and adjustments to develop the budget that then moves forward to the Budget Committee. And in similar fashion, the Budget Committee spends several evenings on their own discussing the budget, considering different circumstances, asking a lot of questions, and making their own reductions and adjustments. And the end result is the budget that is being presented to you folks here today. This year, as you know, in addition to my work on the school board, I was the Budget Committee rep. And I would like to take this moment to give some props to the Budget Committee. They worked very hard. We all worked very hard together. This was a very open dialogue. We had members of the administrative staff on hand at different Budget Committee meetings throughout the process. And there was a tremendous exchange of information, a lot of questions being asked and answered, and a lot of different consideration and work went into this budget. As far as the considerations go, we of course, when we look at our budget, need to consider what our current needs are, as well as our future needs. We need to anticipate things such as the Common Core standards coming up in 2014. And we need to know what is coming up and how we prepare for it. First and foremost on our mind, of course, is the quality of instructional practices for our students. We definitely do strive for excellence here in the district, and we want to make sure that we are giving all of our students an opportunity to achieve academic success. Something else that we needed to wrestle with this year was the immediate impact of downshifting from the state. I think many of you may have already heard that given budgetary situations at the state, it has affected us here at the local level. We did see that, most definitely, and right away that was something that we needed to address. I will address it again in a different slide. That comes up, but essentially we did see an increase in our budget that wasn't about programming, it wasn't about meeting different needs, it was simply a result of budgetary changes that have come down from the state level. We always consider the economic climate as we work through our budget, and always, more than anything, want to be sensitive to the impact of the local taxpayers. And I can tell you again from having sat both with the board and with the Budget Committee, that was what was definitely on our minds as we worked through the budget. A little bit of history here. I think a lot of you know Goffstown does have a long-standing history of being one of the lowest districts in the state for their cost per pupil. Using our most recent data, which is stemming from the 2011-2012 school year, there are 8 school districts in the state whose cost per pupil fell below Goffstown's. What that means, out of 162 districts in the state, guys, Goffstown falls in the lowest 5% in the state for their cost per pupil spending. So back to our budget for this year. As we said, 2013, 2014, we're looking at $37,311,381. So point of reference, the operating budget for this year, 2012-2013, was $36,182,164. That's a difference of about $1.1 million. Where did it come from? We had, as I mentioned, oh, I thought I was getting the stare down from the moderator. Okay. So the increases that we had, as I mentioned before, we'll start with what came down from the state. Retirement. The state is no longer providing contributions towards retirement. That left us with an expense of $419,787 that we needed to cover out of our budget. We skipped down a couple lines in my PowerPoint. I've also got a listing here for charter schools at $85,571. And what that is for is to provide special educational services to students who are in charter schools. Again, this is required, and this is something that recently came down from budgetary changes in the state level. Some other increases that we've seen, we've got an increase in health insurance that stems from nothing more than just premium increases. They weren't a change in coverage. They weren't any other changes. This was just a change in the cost of insurance. We do have an allowance in here for special ed tuition. This is an identified need. So this is required by IEP. This is an expense we know that we are going to incur. In our budget as well, we have asked for $200,000 going towards the roof at Mountain View Middle School. This is the portion of the roof that is the original roof on the building. The building's about 23 years old. These are about 20-year shingles that have been put on the roof, so we've got our life out of them. The roof is leaking. We have received several different estimates and professional opinions, and it is in need of replacement. In the budget this year as well, you will see some new positions. These are based on identified need. These are special educational personnel and paraprofessionals. These individuals are required by IEP. These are based, again, on an identified specific need that we know we have that is coming up. Additionally speaking, we do have one special educator that we have in the budget, and what this individual is doing is hiring this individual is going to help us avoid the expenses of an out-of-district placement. So this is the more cost-effective, less expensive way to go here. A new budget item for us is homeless student transportation. As in recent years, we have seen an increase in this need. We do have it budgeted at $10,000. And what this does is we need to provide transportation to and from school for students who have been displaced due to homelessness. Another expense you see here is $25,000 for the track at Barnard Park. This is a track that both the students at Goffstown High School as well as the people in the town share the track. We are sharing the expense. This is a 50-50 split with the town budget for $25,000, and the effort here is to repair the track. As many of you may know, it has fallen into disrepair, so we're repairing the track so that it is safe to be used. Total here on these increases is, as you see, $1.2 million. As I said previously, the increase for the budget is 1.1. So what we had to do here was make some pretty difficult choices. And in order to meet these increases that you just saw, we did have to make some cuts in different areas. It's a way to balance out. We're trying to walk that fine line of meeting everybody's needs, but likewise presenting a budget that is as low as we can get it while still preserving the needs of the students in our town. I thank you very much for your consideration, and we ask for your support. Thank you.
Thank you, Dan. Are there any questions on Article number 3? Peter, I'll look to the Budget Committee first.
I'm all set.
Okay.
I want to make a comment as a private citizen.
Yeah, you may. Yeah,
Elizabeth DeBrule. I just want to, the slide's already gone, I guess, but the slide that Diane showed with all the increases, I just want to make sure people understood that every item on there, with the exception of the roof and the track, are required by law for the district to provide. So this was a big discussion at the Budget Committee level. We eliminated every position that was new position that was not required by law, and all of those things must be funded, whether the budget passes or not. Okay, those are not expenses that we can decide as a community. Yeah, we're not going to spend the extra $400,000 on retirement. We have to fund those things. We are required by law to do it, and if the budget doesn't pass, all those things are still going to have to be paid for out of the default budget. That was it.
Thank you. Any other questions? Diane said I missed somebody's hand on a prior article, and I apologize. Yes, sir. Come on up if you want. I'm sorry if I missed you previously.
Morris Demers, 11 Tanager Road. It occurred to me just a little bit too late.
I'm going to allow him to bring it up because his hand is up. I just missed it. I'm sorry.
The renovations to the two elementary schools seem to be quite important. A lot of people want to get into the schools. I'm just recommending that an open house of some sort to tour the facilities be set up so the voters can see for themselves what the needs really are. That's all I have to say.
Thank you. And again, I apologize. I had an eye exam a couple of weeks ago. The new lenses haven't shown up yet, so I'm going to wait. Anything else on Article 3? even you have to tell us your name.
Yes, Larry Emerson, Goffstown, New Hampshire. I have a question on your budget under 1400, and it says field rental at 8, I can read it, 1,000 years ago, I lose my eyesight. But anyway, it's blank. Could somebody explain to me that line?
Okay, is that your only question, Larry? Do you have others?
The question, yes.
Okay. Do you have any other questions, Larry? I want to give them a chance to find an answer.
That's the only one.
Okay, thank you. I'll let the school board find a minute to find the answer if they wish to respond.
Well, my question is, why is it blank?
Okay. Okay, we'll find the answer. Thank you. Well, while we're waiting for the school board to go through, does anybody else have any questions? Okay, I want to package it so they can do some research and not have the answer. Okay. School board, you're not compelled to, but do you want to respond to Larry's question?
Mr. Emerson, because you asked the question, I'm going to respond to you specifically, but for everybody. Periodically, there are things that we do to make sure that dollars end up in the right places. The line you're talking about is a district line. It has been moved to the high school where we believe it more properly belongs. So the absence of it there doesn't mean that the field rental category has disappeared. It simply means that it's moved.
It's still in there.
It is.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions on Article 3? Seeing none, we'll move to Article 4. Oh, I'm sorry. We'll stay back on Article 3 for a minute.
Anthony DeFranco, Goffstown. I'd just like to make a motion to restrict reconsideration of Article 2.
Okay, do you want to hold it? Let me move on for Article 3, and then we can make one for vote. Is that okay? Is there any other comments on Article 3? Seeing none, do you want to amend your motion?
I would, Mr. Moderator. I'd like to amend my motion to restrict reconsideration of both Articles 2 and 3.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention? Motion carries. Thank you. Okay, let's move on then to Article 4. Now, both Articles 4 and 5, the wording is required by statute, therefore it does not permit amendment. So you can discuss it, but under the statute, we cannot amend these at this meeting. Article 4, to see if the school district will vote to authorize indefinitely until rescinded to retain year-end unassigned general funds in an amount not to exceed in any fiscal year 2.5% of the current fiscal year's net assessment in accordance with RSA 194 4B, Roman numeral 2. Such fund balances retained may only be used to reduce the tax rate or for emergencies as described in RSA 3211. In the case of emergencies, approval to expend must be sought from the New Hampshire Department of Education as required by 3211. Again, this is the statutory wording. Don't blame us. Don't blame the school board.
Blame me.
Blame Fred. Does somebody want to bring this forward? Mr. Allen? Okay. Mr. Pinko, second. Keith, you want to speak to it?
For a change, I actually probably get to speak to the one that's the simplest and quickest to explain. The 2.5% capital reserve fund is designed to allow the Goffstown School District to put aside up to 2.5% of a yearly budget if an unreserved fund balance should exist. Some of the reasons why we do end up with an unreserved fund balance is underspending, unanticipated funds, which include tuition that we receive from New Boston and Dunbarton, grants, and donations into the district. This reserve fund would be similar to the one that the selectmen have had for the town side for many years. This fund was not an option for school districts in the state of New Hampshire until the state legislation made changes in the past legislative session. In essence, it pretty much defines what it can be used for. It says it can be used to reduce the tax rate, or if an emergency should arise during a school year, if the Board of Education so would allow, we could use that money for an emergency situation. And that's pretty much straightforward. Thank you.
Are there any questions on Article 4? Yes, Mr. Junior.
Peter Georgianthus. How does this affect the town's unexpended revenues that they receive back from the school? Or how much can you accumulate before you have to spend it?
Well, you're getting that. Does anybody else have any questions? That's your only question, Peter? Okay. Anything else? Board, are you prepared to answer?
I'll try to answer your question. If I only get halfway there, make sure that you don't let me sit down until I've answered both pieces. The opportunity is limited on a year-to-year basis. I don't believe that there's anything that I've seen that limits on an ongoing basis. At the end of the year, I can't tell you what any individual board will do, but I suspect that the board will be faced with making a decision about either allocating funds that may be unencumbered or a fund balance at the end of the year, or returning those to the taxpayers. And I think that what will happen, and I'm speculating, but I do it based upon the dialogues that have occurred in the past, the board will make a decision about what it believes it needs, and based upon unanticipated revenues and unexpended funds, what it may need on an emergency basis in the following year. At the end of the day, those funds can't be expended on an emergency basis without going to the Department of Education and providing a compelling reason for doing so. Does that cover both pieces?
I believe so, yes.
Okay, thanks very much.
Thank you. Are there any other questions in this article? Seeing none, we'll move to Article 5. Article 5, again, this is statutorily prescribed wording. How's that for good? Shall the school district accept the provisions of RSA 195A as amended, providing for the establishment of an area school or schools located in Goffstown to serve the following grades 7 through 12 from the school districts of Goffstown and Dunbarton and New Boston, in accordance with the provisions of the plan on file with the district clerk. Mr. Pankos moves to bring this forward for discussion, and it's seconded by Diane McCarthy. And who's going to speak to this?
Thank you very much, Mr. Moderator. First off, I think it's important to thank the following people. We've been a community of students for over 40 years, and the people that I'm about to thank spent more than 40 meetings over the last 2 years developing an amended area plan. Those folks include from Dunbarton, Deb Foster, Rennie Willett, and Carl Metzger. From New Boston, Betsy Holmes, Wendy Lambert, and Keith Ammon. And from Goffstown, Dan Cloutier and Ginny McKinnon. Their efforts were tireless. They sat around a table. They didn't always agree, but we found a way to produce an amended area agreement that'll be on the ballot for your consideration this year. It will also be on the ballots of the other 2 districts. In order for us to have an agreement going forward, all 3 districts must pass the area agreement on their ballot. It's important that the community supports it, and here's what the landscape looks like. The last of our communities that will vote on it is the community of Dunbarton. Dunbarton will have 2 area agreements on its ballot. They will have the Dunbarton, New Boston, Goffstown area agreement, and they will have a Bow Dunbarton area agreement for their voters' consideration. we've had a very effective marriage for 40 years. I believe that it's important that we continue to send a signal that we want to continue that relationship. And so it is substantially important to this community because we benefit, in the first instance, from the students that we receive from both Dunbarton and New Boston, and you enjoy the benefit of the revenues that they contribute to support education in this community. The substantial changes in the area agreement over the existing agreement, which has governed us for 10 years, really boil down to about one thing. And that is that the rental rate that this community receives from the sending districts will change from 2.5% to 2%. Prior to the existing area agreement, for which we received 2.5%, the going rate had been 2%. So we're returning to where we were 10 years ago. That has a great deal to do with the fact that we needed to produce an agreement that was reasonable and favorable and recognized that at least one of the communities will have an absolute choice. And therefore, it needed to be competitive on a price basis with the other option available to those folks. There was a presentation the other night, Wednesday, that discussed broadly the benefits of both of the districts that the Dunbarton voters will have to decide on. The remarkable thing is that, although there are some differences, the systems and what's available at the schools is pretty similar. We're doing a lot of the same things. A lot of the same choices are available. There are distinct advantages that we offer, and we also offer the benefit of a 40-year relationship without a divorce. We'd be happy to answer any questions that you might have about the area agreement or about the vote, but really the substantial change is the reduction in the rental rate. Thanks very much.
Are there any questions on or comments on Article 5? Yes. Jeff.
Jennifer Thoreau, 698 Back Mountain Road. I had a very interesting conversation with another taxpayer recently that I want to share. This taxpayer is of the I'm going to vote no for everything club. And I asked this person to consider reconsidering her vote and share this information with other people who are of the same mind to vote no on all money articles. I want to reiterate, Dunbarton is watching, and their vote is after ours. They have 2 area agreements on their ballot. Obviously, they were at a point where they felt they needed to shop out their options. If in Dunbarton they choose to go to Bow, it should be noted that there would be a gap of revenue of about $2 million. It should also be noted that our fixed costs in Goffstown wouldn't change. And it's also highly likely that our staffing requirements would be also mostly unchanged, which leaves that $2 million gap. So I would ask all who are considering voting no on all the money articles to reconsider voting no because that $2 million will need to be made up somehow. Thank you.
Are there any further questions or comments on Article 5? Seeing none, we'll move on. Now, I told Senator D'Alessandro that once we go through the articles, provided he limit his comments, we can do this to a couple of minutes, mostly so I will not be late for the end of the wrestling match. I'd like him to do that, and since he's a major player in the state, as you know, and we have some challenges, I'd like to extend to Lou, if you'd like to, a couple of minutes to come forward. You're good? Would you like to do it now as we reach the end? We're timing you, Lou. Won't do any good, but we're going to try. Yeah.
First, thank you, Mr. Moderator. I appreciate your courtesy, your kindness, and your great work that you've done for this community over the years. Brother Edmonton had 1,000 years of service, and we're very appreciative of that too, Lawrence. But let me be brief. In the legislature, I serve on Finance, Ways and Means, and Capital Budget. I'm the ranking Democrat on all three of those committees. I think we have to be, realistic. The revenues for the current year are stagnant. There may be a 1.5%, or 2% variation in terms of the revenues expected for the next biennium. That means only about $30 million new dollars will flow into the system. The concern of our communities is the adequacy formula. We made an adjustment in Senate Bill 40 so that miscalculation by the Department of Education was corrected, and 77 communities throughout the state received dollars that were appropriated for them that initially did not go, but now will go to each one of those communities. Manchester was one of the communities that was affected, and of course I represent Manchester. So adequacy is a key issue. The additional monies in the future are going to be de minimis because the cost of living is increases below 1%. Governor will deliver a budget message on the 14th of February. Very, very significant message. The budget is the tool by which the state operates for the next biennium, so we all should be very conscious of what's going on. The demands are high. The ability to address those demands will be what's available. I thank each and every one of you for coming to this meeting. This is my third trip. I was here for the original budget meeting. I compliment the chairman of the budget committee on his work. I was here for the school meeting, here for this meeting. I'll be here for the other meeting. I'd like to see more participation. It's really great to see the number that's here today, but we are a community. It's so important that each and every one of us express our opinion because we're all part of this business, and together we make a real difference. My office is available to help. I write a little blurb for the town report and give you our phone number and email address and so forth and so on. So all of that's available to you. And please take advantage of it if I can be of any assistance. And I must say one thing, that Mr. Boyle has been one of the truly great friends that I've had in Goffstown, and the passage of his wife is something that all of us felt. Great lady, did great work for this community. A wonderful, wonderful, wonderful couple. And I think that's what Goffstown's all about. That's what New Hampshire's all about, people helping people. So I appreciate all of your work. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. And if indeed you have a question, I'd be more than happy to address it. Thank you, Mr. Moderator.
It's an honor to have Lou come because of his position in the state. Thank you for coming. That really concludes the meeting. Wait, hold on. You can tell Fred is eager. I want to thank School Board for your work, Budget Committee for your work, staff for your work, Board of Selectmen, thank you for coming. That's important, I think, to have two sides of the town together. Sometimes that hasn't happened in the past. It's a great development for Goffstown. I appreciate your coming. This is an important event. Even if we don't do that much, your coming here is important, so thank you. On Wednesday is the town meeting. The reason Fred is so eager about it is Rod will not be there to moderate. Fred, as the assistant moderator, is running the show, so he wants an equal showing. Please go. Give him a lot of trouble. Come up with complicated amendments, procedural motions. Let's test him. But please come to the town side. That's important. Make sure you vote on the voting day, second Tuesday in March, and remember to go to the musical. If you haven't been to a high school musical, you should go. They're very good. On the 15th through the 23rd. I see no further business to come before the meeting. Motion to adjourn, made by Mr. Giannis, seconded by the UNH hockey fan in the back. No further discussion. All those in favor of the motion to adjourn, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you for coming.
Went pretty quick.